Hello, folks. Welcome to Science Talk. I am your host, Jim Massa. In this video segment, I want to discuss with you what new research is basically bluntly stated. What have they bluntly stated? Global heating could bring, quote, untold suffering for humans. It could also mean less fresh water, less rice, and whatever rice there is, we'll be tasting more of arsenic. So, kind of was really unprecedented. More than 11,000 scientists from 153 nations have united to warn the world that without deep and lasting change, the climate emergency promises humankind unavoidable, untold suffering. That's a quote from a statement they signed onto. So, climate deniers. Is this a massive conspiracy from over 11,000 scientists from over 153 countries to spew nonsense that the planet is warming? No. Shit's real. Idiots. And to underscore this message, a U.S. research group has predicted that on the basis of experiments so far, global heating could reduce rice yields by 40% by the end of the century, which they admit is a conservative. It could happen sooner. And at the same time, intensify levels of arsenic in that crop. Now, I have done quite a few video segments before where I discussed that in a warming planet, crop yields will be reduced, as well as the nutritional content be reduced. This is the first one I'm seeing of a poisonous levels of a substance being increased. We all know what arsenic does to humans. Okay? If any of you have ever seen Arsenic and Old Lace, the old Cary Grant movie, okay, whatever. But this, of course, is no laughing matter. At the same time, a second group of U.S. researchers has forecast that changes in the world vegetation in an atmosphere that keeps seeing higher and higher levels of CO2 could mean that even though rainfall might increase, there could be less fresh water on tap for many of the peoples in Europe, Asia, and North America. Warnings of climate hazard that could threaten political stability and precipitate mass starvation are not new. I've discussed this. Individuals, research groups, academies, intergovernmental agencies have been stressing this same point for quite some time, and definitely with increasing urgency in the past 2 decades. So really the only argument has been in what form, how badly, and just when the emergency, when and where it will take its greatest toll. So the 11,000 signatories to the statement in the journal Bioscience report that their conclusions are based on new analysis of 40 years of data covering energy use, surface temperatures, population growth, land clearance, deforestation, polar ice melt, fertility rates, gross domestic product, and carbon emissions. The scientists list 6 steps that the nation should be taking to avert the coming catastrophe. 1. Abandon fossil fuel use. 2. Reduce atmospheric pollution. 3. Restore natural ecosystems. A lot easier said than done. 4. Shift from animal-based to plant diets. Now, you've seen me in prior video segments where I make that very argument. Putting aside the fact that humans evolved to be omnivores, but from an basic ecological principle, if you have a given set of land dedicated to raising crops versus raising livestock, you're going to get more kilograms of food from raising the plants than from raising the livestock. 5, contain economic growth and the pursuit of affluence. In other words, stop being greedy little pricks. And then 3, stabilize the human population. I've done video segments where I say that the number of people on the planet is not sustainable, and continued growth is definitely not sustainable. It's going to bring a catastrophe that's just waiting to happen. If humans numbers keep increasing on trying to get finite resources on a finite planet with exponential growth of number of people, it's not sustainable. It's going to come crashing down, and it's going to come crashing down big time. So, and going back to the point about contained economic growth and the pursuit of affluence, that's a swipe at capitalism. Let's be blunt. That's what it is. This is a dig at capitalism, and deservedly so, in my opinion, because capitalism is predicated on what? All that matters is continued growth, and we know that's not sustainable for what I just said. And resources are infinite. Well, we know that's bullshit. Now, when capitalism was first started up, 300-400 years ago, yeah, back then it might have seemed like, oh, resources are infinite. Oh, there's plenty of great ox. Yeah, now what? How many ox are there left on the planet? 0. They're extinct. So this is a swipe at capitalism, and you need to move capitalism. If you're going to have capitalism, I personally think other systems are possible. If you're going to have capitalism, you need to change it from one based on growth to one based on sustainability. And the pursuit of affluence. How much fucking money does Bezos and all them type of ding dongs need? Greed is horseshit. I mean, if Bezos was to spend $1,000 of his wealth every day, okay, he's worth, was it 150 billion? So that's 1.5 times 10 to the 11th. And he spends $1,000 a day, that's 10 to the 3. So, okay, so let's just say, 10 to the 11 divided by 10 to the 3 is 10 to the 8th. That's how many days he would have to spend it all. Well, that's a few tens of thousands of years. Crazy. So, William Ripple of Oregon State University, he's one of the leaders of this coalition. He says, despite 40 years of major global negotiation, we have continued to conduct business as usual and have failed to address this crisis. Climate change has arrived and is accelerating faster than many scientists expected. How many times have you seen me in these video segments say that the rate of increase is turning out to be exponential, not linear, because of positive feedback loops kicking in and causing a runaway system. We are now in the middle of a runaway system. Let's be blunt about that. Other groups have already warned that changes in seasonal temperature and rainfall could reduce both the yields of wheat, fruit and vegetables, nutritional values of rice, and other staples. As I said, I've discussed these before in other video segments. Please go check those out. The Stanford group reported in the journal Nature Communications that they looked more closely at what climate change could do to rice crops, very important staple worldwide. Most soils contain some arsenic. Rice is grown in flooded paddy fields that tend to loosen arsenic from the soil. In other words, put it into solution, which is then more readily absorbed through the root system. Higher temperatures combined with more intense rainfall show that, in experiments, rice plants will then, under those conditions, absorb more arsenic, which in turn inhibits nutrient absorption, reduces plant development. Not only did the grains contain twice the level of arsenic, the yield fell by 2/5, which is 40%. So there you have it. Now, granted, this is experimental, but don't forget, lots of times experiments such as this in the lab reflect what is observed in the field, in nature. Except that doing it in a lab, you can allow to control the other variables, the other parameters and factors, so that you know that the response seen is due to this one particular variable. Or in this case, what they do, they looked at the temperature and rainfall. So you had two variables, but they're able to control, say, the humidity. They're able to control the chemistry of the soils, that kind of stuff. So by doing that, you're able to better show statistically the effect of the factors. So Scott Fendorf, who's an Earth system scientist at Stanford, states, by the time we get to 2100, we're estimated to have approximately 10 billion people. That's a little on the low side. Some are saying up to 13. I don't think that will happen. So we would have 5 billion people dependent on rice, 2 billion who would not have access to the calories they would normally need. Translation, the rice plants are less nutritional. Less nutritional means less calories. Less calories means less energy. I didn't expect the magnitude of impact on rice yield we observed. What I missed was how much the soil biogeochemistry would respond to increased temperature, how that would amplify plant available arsenic, and then coupled with temperature stress, how that would really impact the plant. This comes down to something I have stressed many times, especially when I criticize folks who try to do these geoengineering schemes. We don't know the interactions. We can't really account for all the parameters, and certainly not all the possible interactions. Here's an example of such. And this guy wasn't even trying to do geoengineering. He was just studying something. He's like, okay, increased rainfall temperature, what's that going to do to the plants? And it's like, oh shit, now that they're pulling up more arsenic. So we're not always able to anticipate all possible parameters, all possible interactions. And don't forget, the more parameters you have, the more possible interactions you have. One-way, two-way, three-way, etc. interactions. So we're seeing more and more reports telling us just the dire consequences to expect. And putting COVID-19 and other pandemics aside, it would not surprise me in the coming decades that we see mass starvation planet-wide. And that will certainly prevent human population from reaching 10 billion. I mean, we're basically at 8 billion now. And with the doubling about every 20 years or so, it's just not going to happen. So you're going to see, people dying from starvation, and then as the amount of available clean water decreases, you're going to see wars over that. And then, of course, with wars comes more population declines, etc. So, 21st century is shaping up to be a pretty shitty one. And I've done a video before where some folks are thinking about there will not be human civilization by 2050. I'm beginning to think they're right. That's only 30 years away, folks. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Hello, folks. This is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.